As is often the case with this sort of niche, sophisticated product, all the reviews I could find were by competent and experienced musicians or music makers. Whilst their top-down appraisals of what, at least to them, is more of a beginner's entry-level MIDI keyboard were useful, they quite rightly assume a level of knowledge in all their descriptions and reviews that I just do not have. The level of my ignorance descends to such profound depths as to not understanding the functions of all the knobs, buttons and options, and perhaps worst of all, I have zero experience of playing any sort of keyboard-based instrument. However, during the COVID lockdowns, I did learn to play both the soprano and alto recorder, so I have some idea of reading music and making a string of notes sound like a tune. That said, the recorder is a one note at a time instrument, so playing chords and all that other keyboard stuff just looks like magic from where I'm sitting. Because I am literally starting from scratch on my music making adventure, the MPK Mini Play was an obvious choice, as it has an inbuilt speaker and is powered by batteries, meaning I can practice without the need to be attached to a PC or subjecting myself to the double plus challenge of becoming competent with a digital audio workstation before I have some keyboard skills. The other attractions of the Mini Play also include the fact it has a very welcome array of drum pads, enough music distorting functions to be going on with, and 128 programmed drum and instrument sounds to add plenty of options. 25 keys cover the range of notes I'm used to playing with both types of recorder, except for the really high notes, which I am useless at getting to anyway. Interestingly, the keys are velocity sensitive, so you can affect the sound by hitting them hard, soft, or anywhere in between. Out of the box, the Mini Play feels a bit like a toy. Granted, a very well made and sophisticated toy, but it still feels like a toy. The batteries slip into the compartment in the base, and it can be turned on and off using the battery USB switch on the rear, which sits alongside the USB socket for PC connection and a mini jack headphone socket, as well as a socket for a sustain pedal. If you're still watching this video, then you might want to reconsider continuing, as I am now about to dive into a summary of what I've discovered so far about all the keys, pads, buttons and knobs. On the basis that you have to start somewhere, I reckon that starting from the left and the top is as good a place as anywhere, so here we go. However, before talking about the red knob, just to say that the small screen is really useful as a beginner because it reports what functions you are using and, where relevant, how you are changing them. On the top left is the joystick, which if you push front to back changes the pitch of any note you play and changes what appears to be described as the expression of the note if pushed left to right. I am assuming that expression and modulation, or changing the key of the note, are the same here. As far as I can work out, the expression just seems to create a reverb effect or kills the sound. For me, the joystick is imprecise and it doesn't take much to merge pitch and modulation effects, so practice needed. Moving swiftly along, or in this case down, next up are a couple of switches which control the arpeggiator function. I have to admit that I needed some quality Google time to work this one out. An arpeggio is a bunch of notes played in sequence, which when played together make a chord, apparently. If you switch on and then hold down the arpeggiator button, you can select the structure and form of the arpeggio sound the Mini Play creates, using the labels above the keys, and pressing a key selects that option. Whilst I am incredibly skilled at pressing down more than one key at a time, as previously stated, I've no experience of playing chords, so realising the full potential of the arpeggiator function will require the arduous ascent of a steeper learning curve than I have the time for in this video. But hopefully you get the idea from my clumsy key thumping here. The tap tempo button allows you to alter the tempo of your arpeggiator mode of choice, so again in my case, a subject for later. Below these are two buttons which allow you to move the sound down or up an octave, which is brilliant, and pressing them together returns you to the default middle octave. The bottom two buttons relate to the drum pads, with the left one switching to full level mode, which means that regardless of how hard you hit the pad, the sound is always at full volume, whereas normally they are pressure sensitive. The button to the right is a note repeat option for the pads, based on whatever tempo you have set, moving swiftly along to the 4 knobs above the pads. Actually, these have 8 options, which can be selected using the knob A-B switch to the right. The choices written in white are selected if you are in knob A mode, at which point the switch will be red, and when it is green you are in knob B mode, and the choices written in red are selected, which is of course only slightly confusing. Presumably Akai didn't have any green ink or white backlit switches. The first knob allows you to play with the filter and attack of the note, the second knob affects the note's resonance or release, the third controls the reverb or lower EQ levels, and the last knob controls a chorus effect or the high EQ settings of the sound. More exploration of what these options can deliver is obviously required. Before I move on to the pads, there is the selector knob to take a look at. Selecting either the drum or key switch means you can scroll through and select your internal instrument and drum sounds and effects, which are displayed on the screen. Whilst the drum pads are supposed to be pressure sensitive, I found that if you didn't hit them hard, you didn't hear anything, and so always hit the full level switch. Maybe it's different when using a DAW and the pressure is better interpreted electronically. As with the 4 knobs, the drum pads are also subject to the bizarre counterintuitive protocol of red means white and green means red. In red mode you can play the internal drum sounds, and in green mode you can save and recover your favourite sounds to locations set by hitting the relevant pad. This requires a cunning use of the favourites and internal sounds buttons. The volume control works as expected. So what do I think about the Mini Play as an absolute beginner? There are so many combinations and permutations possible that the opportunity and risk of making just some noise is significant, and whilst it might sound zippy and edgy because of the quirky options, there is that huge risk of it not actually being music in any real sense of the word. Bizarrely, given the plethora of options, the Mini Play lacks a loop and record function. If it was just an instrument, then this lack would be understandable, but the Mini Play is really sold as a music maker, so not to have these options in a standalone device massively undermines its potential. The user manual is not exactly beginner friendly and more of a technical description, and without explanation of the terms used, then the result is somewhat excluding for someone just starting out. Apart from that, the Mini Play is very good with lots of potential and definitely establishes itself as being a tool you can grow into as you learn and experiment. I have not yet attached it to a PC, as I first wanted to establish my limitations and learning needs with a keyboard-based instrument, but it'll be interesting to see if a PC-based experience will be easier or harder. It's all good.